I'm here with Conor Maynard. Welcome to Prague.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
So I've heard this is your first Prague show, but have you had a chance to visit Prague before as a tourist, or is it your first time ever?
This is my first time in Prague. This is my first show here, and it's my first time as a tourist, etc. I've obviously kind of always wanted to come because a lot of my friends have already been here, and I always hear so many like great things about Prague, but I've never been here. So this is my first time visiting, so I'm super excited, definitely.
So basically, you told people that the new album is basically most about like your recent breakup and heartbreak, and now this tour is called Sad Boy Summer Tour. So are you still in the process, or has there been a new heartbreak, or are we still talking about the same one?
It's about the same one. So essentially, the reason I named it Sad Boy Summer is because I'm performing a lot of the songs that were on that album. Mm-hmm. So a lot of those songs weren't out yet when I went on tour last time, which wasn't that long ago, but it pretty much got released as soon as I got back from my last world tour, which ended, I think, maybe about 3 months ago now. So as I said, this is like the first time I'm performing a lot of those songs. So I kind of knew that this set was going to have quite like a kind of sad undertone, kind of a lot of heartbreak songs were going to be included in the set. So I named it Sad Boy Summer because we're in the middle of summer, and it is hot today as well. It was hot earlier, but like it is hot today.
Have you healed, or are you still going through it, or?
I feel like I'm definitely in a much better place than I was kind of when it first happened. Once the kind of relationship came to an end, I kind of had a moment where I thought to myself, like, I don't want to kind of go down that route of like spiraling out of control, like going out every night drinking, just like trying to, I guess, numb the pain for a short-term fix, because that's all it is. It only fixes it for a little while, and then the long-term doesn't get any better. So I just thought it was a much better idea to kind of channel that into music and go into the studio and start writing about it, and that's what I did. I did it pretty much straight away. So yeah.
The album is called Plus 11 Hours, right? Which is the Australia time, is it right? And then it starts, the intro and outro is like the
exactly,
Sydney-bound flight. So was she from Australia, or was it happening in Australia?
Yeah, so the reason I called it Plus 11 Hours is because that was the time difference between us for the majority of the relationship. So we met online. She lived in Sydney, and we most of our relationship was basically on FaceTime. Like it's kind of like it's kind of weird, because I feel weird even calling it a relationship, because it was so much of it was spent long distance. I feel like in kind of the traditional sense it wasn't a relationship at all, but I guess in the modern day it kind of feels like a little bit of one. So I think it was definitely a weird period, but the album is named Plus 11 Hours because that was the time difference between us. So yeah.
Was it like a tough transition? So like going from like, a YouTube star, like when it's time to do like your first big show, like how was that? Because like it's different when you record something in your living room, put it up on YouTube, you get 1 million views, and then you sing in front of 50,000 people, So like, was there kind of like a little fear, stage fright that you had to overcome, or was it just natural?
If I'm honest, I feel like one of my first ever shows that I did was in front of 80,000 people at like a festival. Okay. And if I'm like genuine, people always are like feel this is kind of weird, but for me, it's like, I would rather do a show in front of 80,000 people than like 12 people.
You've been doing covers your whole life, and then you went into like, just doing mostly covers. Now you're going back to like writing your own songs. Was there just like that you had like a creative break, or was it just like you wanted to do covers and focus on other things, or like you just didn't have the inspiration, now you had it from the heartbreak? Like, what was the reason for?
So no, that was actually to do with issues with my label at the time. Okay. So I was kind of, I was having a lot of legal issues around that time, and I basically was unable to release any original content for that period of time. I was like, well, do I just roll over and let it all end, or do I take it into my own hands and find ways to keep myself, relevant, keep myself out there while I'm unable to release original music? So for me, the obvious choice felt like covers, because that's how I started in the first place anyway, and then it was a world that I felt like I knew quite well, and I wasn't ready to kind of just roll over and die and like be like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll just be one of those artists that's like, oh, they released some songs for like a couple of years, and then that was the end.
What's the day in life of Conor Maynard like?
So if I'm like about to go on tour, I'll probably be in like promo mode, where I'll be like making loads of content. If I'm working on a new project, I'll be in writing mode, so I'm just in the studio every day. I also fit time for fun, etc. I'm quite a big gamer. I like gaming.
Okay. What do you play?
At the moment, I play a lot of Rocket League. I play Rocket League a lot on my. I have a gaming PC at my place in London, and I play that a lot. I play football like 3 times a week. I try to be active as much as I can. Just hanging out with friends, drinking.
What's your drink of choice?
Drink of choice right now is seltzers. I love seltzers. Yeah, so I would always drink so beer was always my go-to.
Too many calories though, right?
And I don't know, yeah, like it just started making me feel like, it started making me feel too lethargic. I'd feel too like bloated and like tired before I went out. Like especially if I was drinking before I was like gonna go out to a bar or something. Beers would just make me feel so like tired, and I'd just be like, oh, I don't really feel like going out now. Whereas seltzers are much more light, and they kind of get you the same amount. I think they're the same percentage as beers as well, so they kind of, you know, get you a good buzz, but they don't make you feel kind of lethargic. So yeah.
You also like perform in the musical on Broadway. Just living in New York City throughout that time. How was that?
I've actually lived in 3 cities in America. I've lived in LA, New York, and Miami. Okay. And I would say New York was my favorite. Like I had such a good time in New York. It didn't feel like too different from London. I feel like LA feels like a completely different kind of vibe, and I still had a lot of fun in LA, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like New York felt like I wasn't like so far away from home, and Miami just felt like, I don't know, constant parties. Miami was a lot of fun, but it just felt like I didn't really chill much. I kind of just everything was always like 100 miles an hour in Miami, so but no, in living in New York, I really, really enjoyed it. I felt like I had such a good time, and also, and even doing the show as well, like it was such an unforgettable experience. I remember like the day I left, like it's pretty much standard to like kind of make a speech to say like thank you to everyone and say goodbye to everyone, and I got like super emotional during my speech. Like everyone does, but like I remember just thinking like this was such a life-changing experience, and it was so eye-opening. And to be surrounded by so many talented people like, every day was such an honor. So it was a lot of fun.
If you had like a message for a person that trying to like jumpstart their career in music in whichever, you know, creative way, what would you tell them now after like being 10 plus years in the industry?
I'd say give up. It's not it's not fun. Just let it go. No. I would say well, like kind of as we spoke about earlier, I feel like social media is such a powerful tool. I meet a lot of people that like want to be singers, etc., and they kind of like they say that, oh, you know, how did you like? And I'll be like, oh no, I don't really use social media, and I'll be a little bit like, well, it's gonna be really difficult if you don't use it at all. So I would say, yeah, like utilize the power of social media, and in terms of like how, you know, that's no secret. Anyone can do that. So like, how do you stand out? It's kind of just having something different, or kind of like I find it quite hard to explain exactly like how I went about it and how I did it, and I think also timing when I first started was massively in my favor because there weren't as many people doing it. It's way more saturated now, but I think just finding something to stand out, like utilize skills that you might have. I think like for me, I always like putting humor in my videos as well. A lot of people just kind of straight up sing, and like, you know, if their humor isn't their strong point, they won't use it. But for me, I quite liked doing kind of stupid little funny skits before I did like my music-based material. So that was kind of something I put in there to make it a little bit different. So it's kind of just finding a way to make it a little bit different than just the generic kind of music video thing. So yeah.
Today here with me, Conor Maynard. Thank you so much for your time.
All good, my guy. Thank you so much.
Thanks.